Job's done. Hello, fellow nerds, and welcome to another video. I'm pretty excited to make this one because I main a mage myself, and today I'm going to be talking about, well, when it comes to leveling in Legion, it's kind of something that I haven't really had to deal with in a while, but in Legion things tend to hurt. And right now I'm doing this testing on Alpha, but it feels like a lot of the tuning is complete except for, well, I'll get into each spec tuning and everything and how it feels here in a minute, but I just wanted to first off say that if you were to ask me personally, like Freddy, hey, like what spec should I pick for Legion? What's going to be the best spec? Yada yada. My answer is always going to be choose whatever you want to play, because that's where you're going to have the most fun with. But there are also those people that ask me the question of, hey, like, I am having a really hard time leveling on a mage. Please tell me why. And I'll pretty much get down into the nitty gritty and I'll tell you every single answer about every single talent and as to why it happens this way and how come you're struggling with this certain talent, yada yada. I'm going to go ahead and stop babbling, but mainly, ultimately, what this video is going to be about is what's going to be the best spec to level in Legion. And also, I'm going to be helping you decide which talents that you should be picking as a mage. And I will say, before we get into the nitty-gritty of everything, I'm not going to go into full detail as to really like what talent in each spec does in each situation, because that can be like a 2-hour video, because I can really explain pretty much everything and how every ability and every talent kind of reacts with each certain type of situation. So I'm just going to let you know this is not going to be like some kind of boring video. I'm just going to say it out plainly. I've tested out Fire, I have tested out Frost, and I have tested out Arcane. Although Arcane was pretty interesting to me because for the first little bit, Arcane did some decent damage. And same with Fire, but ultimately I ended up, hey, you know what? It's kind of funny that it ended up working out this way. But Frost has been really the best, the best spec to level in Legion. And I'll give you a bunch of reasons why here in a minute. Okay, so first off, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about Fire. Fire, well, at least at its current state right now, isn't doing a whole lot of damage, and I know this is alpha, right? This is beta, and numbers can be adjusted. It can be buffed, but I'm not going to exactly talk about the damage that these specs do for leveling, but more so along the lines of how it is for leveling. Now, Fire, the damage is really good, right? And the rotation, it feels better, it feels more fluid. There's definitely much more functionality feeling with the spec itself. But if you end up pulling more than 2 things, you're dead. No matter what. If you pop hero, if you pop mirror images, all that kind of crap, like, you're pretty much dead, because if you get a couple fireballs that don't crit, and if you don't have a certain ability up that you get from your artifact weapon, you're pretty much just gonna die. So moving on to Arcane. Now Arcane, it's kind of weird because you get an ability where you can blink and then you can use one ability to go back to where you previously blinked. So that's kind of good when you're trying to get away from things. But if you're trying to really get away from things, you're not exactly pressing a button to kill that thing. You're more worried about getting away from it, right? So it doesn't really make sense when it comes to actually killing a thing. Now, the rotation, like if you don't really have any raid gear or anything, the rotation is going to feel really slow, and you're going to have kind of hard time. You're really only going to be able to pull one thing at a time, and it's going to take quite a while to end up killing it. And like if you enchant haste, whatever, like if you have a bunch of haste, sure, it might be pretty good. But with everything, when everything kind of gets boiled down, Arcane also kind of feels mediocre. And let's get into Frost. Okay, and well, if you've made it this far in the video, congratulations. Thank you for watching. I'm going to start talking about Frost, and if you'd like to look over some of the talents with me, I will go ahead and do that for you. And the first thing that I will mention about Frost, as soon as you get your artifact weapon, you get an ability called Eben Bolt. And now what this does is it is a 2.5 second cast, and as soon as you cast it, it does a crap ton of damage. It doesn't replace your Frost Bolt, but it's an additional bolt, right? So it does a crap ton of damage initially, and then it also grants you 2 Fingers of Frost, right? That's huge, because as soon as you attack a target with that, they're pretty much down to 75-ish%, depending on if you use it first or if you wait to use it. Now, if you wait to use it, the first talent that I picked, I tried Lonely Winter for a little bit. It was okay. It didn't really give me much of the damage increase that I was really hoping for. I thought it was pretty good for a while, and then I switched over to Bone Chilling, and Ray of Frost is like, I don't know why I'm just channeling a Ray of Frost at something, right? It's just bleh. So Bone Chilling was really good because what it does is the more Frostbolt cast that you cast and Ice Lance things and Comet Storm and Ice Nova and Frozen Orb and yada yada, the more of those things that you cast, it increases the amount of damage that you do with all of your spells by 0.5%. Each stack that you can get up to 16 stacks of it. And so pretty much what happens is the more you attack your target, the faster it's going to die. So I kind of like I ended up using my Eben Bolt probably third or fourth cast into attacking the dude. So next tier, the level 30 tier, Shimmer is kind of like it's not exactly good for leveling in Legion. Cauterize, same thing, because like as soon as you get to a certain amount of health, you gain a good amount of health back, but then you lose it. You also get to run away with like a really long blazing speed, but it's like you don't really get a heal, right? You don't really get healed back up. And Cold Snap, it ends up healing you for 3% of your maximum health every second, as long as it lasts. So I ended up using Cold Snap mostly. Although I tried Cauterize, I enjoyed running around like a freaking chicken with my head cut off, but Cold Snap ended up being the best choice for me. And the next tier, I want to say it gets tricky, but it doesn't really get tricky because Incanter's Flow, I like to use this one a lot because it's something I don't have to manage while I'm leveling. It's just kind of there as like a passive DPS boost. Rune of Power is really good for in Legion. You get a lot of quests where you end up getting like a boss, like a mini boss at the end of a quest line. And Rune of Power is really good for like a DPS burst. And also, I use Mirror Image mostly while questing in every single spec, especially as Frost, especially as Arcane, because I had such a hard time really with actually doing the quests. And so I use Mirror Image, and what it does is it loses your aggro on the target. Like if you're about to die, you can just lose the aggro and keep on pew-pewing and then end up killing the target, and also it acts as a DPS boost. So Mirror Image probably going to be the best one overall for questing. And okay, let's go ahead and get into level 60. So before we get into the last half of the talent choices and stuff, I definitely remembered something extremely important, and that is if you do not choose Lowly Winter, which you probably shouldn't choose, right? I just went over that. But if you choose Bone Chilling, which you probably should, you're going to need to set up a macro for your pet, because when I was doing some testing on this, my pet had the water jet. Sure enough, you're going to need to make a macro for your water jet, because once you cast your water jet and you press your frostbolt and your frostbolt hits the target that your pet has its water jet casted on currently, it's going to generate Fingers of Frost. Oh my god, more Fingers of Frost procs, right? So just make sure that you do that. And moving on to the next tier, talent choices stuff. Okay, go. Okay, so the level 60 tier is pretty interesting because we used to have a glyph of splitting eyes, and that was really good when it was a glyph, right? but as a talent, it's pretty interesting. Like, it seems really good, and I tried it for a couple levels, and it didn't really do a whole lot for me. It was just like I could have gotten more damage from other sources. Frozen Touch, it was quite interesting, but you know, it grants 2 Fingers of Frost every 30 seconds, but your E-Bundle also grants 2 Fingers of Frost. And when it comes to killing a mob or two at the same time, you don't really need more than a few Fingers of Frost. And also, when you cast your Frozen Orb, when you hit one target, it grants you a Finger of Frost, right? Immediately. So, Frozen Touch ended up being more like a DPS cooldown, whereas actually like utility when it comes to questing mobs, right? Like you could use it on like a mini boss at the end of a quest line, but that's really it. And Ice Nova, you only have, at least right now, you only have one stack or one charge of Ice Nova. Yay, I got it. One charge. It's not a stack because stacks is what things that kill things. Anyway, so Ice Nova was the best because it really gave me a lot of actual control of the target and targets. Like if I was trying to like kind of cast away from something, I could use Ice Nova. It would do damage and also hold them in place, so I can be over here and cast 1 or 2 more Frostbolts without being, you know, slowed down or interrupted or anything. So Ice Nova was the best one for me. Splitting Ice was kind of like in between. Frozen Touch pretty much felt useless unless you're using it as a DPS cooldown on a mini boss, right? So level 75 tier, I would choose Ice Flows way more than anything because you can cast it at any time and you can cast while you're moving and you have 3 charges. That's really, really powerful when it comes to questing and if you're gonna die. Ring of Frost is really good if I accidentally pulled way too many things and I needed to just not die really, really urgently. I would use Ring of Frost and Ice Ward. It's just like, why are you here? That'll be used probably at top level. So level 90 tier, Frost Bomb was kind of meh. Unstable Magic is just another thing that I didn't really have to control or put on my bar or anything. So it kind of won and it procced quite a bit. And Arctic Gale is really more of like an AoE ability. And you just use that like if you're in a raid and if you need AoE a lot. But then you just use Frostbomb. Anyway, this is not top level Freddy. This is something else. So, Comet Storm, my level 100, was definitely the one I used the most because Glacial Spike, it was just a really long cast time, and you had to get 5 stacks of Icicles, so that's 5 casts of Frostbolt, and by the time you end up casting 5 Frostbolts, the target is pretty much dead, so Glacial Spike would also just be another cooldown used on like a mini boss, and Thermal Void is probably just going to be used for raiding purposes. Yeah, and then Comet Storm I used a lot while questing, and I used it more often than I would use Glacial Spike, so that would be best used. So yeah, that's that would be the end of the video. Super duper Freddy. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, and like my video please, and subscribe to my channel, and you all have a wonderful day. You know, and also there are some times where I like to fart in the tub.
More work? More work? Job's done. Job's done. Job's done. Job's done. Job's done.
Oh crap. I'm totally still recording. You'll have a great day! You know, sometimes I just can't really seem to control the volume of my voice!